Welcome everyone to the channel. I'm Biggie Sweats and today I'm bringing you a Fury Warrior Mythic Plus and Raiding guide so you can do the best you can in all your PvP environments. As Season 4 is slowly coming to an end, I think I will bring these guides to a slow end as well. Try and finish off the remaining classes that we have. But we're going to be moving on to beta content, such as the upcoming metas and the talents and the tiers that we think the classes are going to be at, as well as some classic content on here as well. But without further ado, let's get into this guide. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below. We're almost at 400 subscribers. And make sure you check us out over on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 PM to 10 PM BST. Be there. Boom. So first up, we're going to be talking about Legendaries and Covenants of choice. The Covenant of choice you're going to be going is Kyrian, and this is for both dungeons and raiding. You're going to stick with Kyrian for both, making it super easy for you to get started. Now, you gain access to the ability Spear of Bastion when you choose Kyrian. That is basically throwing a spear on the floor, things get tethered, and you do damage to them. Now, of course, you're going to be using the Unity. It's most likely going to be on your belt, and Unity gives you access to your Covenant Legendary. So Spear of Bastion's duration is increased by 4 seconds while you remain within the Spear of Bastion's area. Your critical strike damage is increased by 25%. So it's basically just a flat out buff and a duration increase on your main Covenant ability. The other legendary you're going to be rocking for both dungeons and raiding is Signet of Tormented Kings. Now, this basically means whenever you activate one of your major CDs as warrior, it has a chance to cast one of the other two abilities, but at reduced effectiveness. So activating Bladestorm, Recklessness, or Avatar randomly casts one of the other two abilities at reduced effectiveness. Awesome ability. Basically, you get one of your cooldowns for free at any given moment you use another cooldown. Now, these are what you're going to be running for both Mythic Dungeons and Raiding. Fury Warrior, super simple to jump into PvE content. So next up, as always, we're going to be talking about Soulbands and Conduits. You are a Kyrian Fury Warrior. You're going to be going Forge Light Prime, Mechanos, and this is for both Dungeons and Raiding. So first up, you're going to get access to Bronze Call to Action. The first conduit you're going to be going is a potency conduit, and this is called Hack and Slash. Rampage has a 38.4% chance to refund a charge of Raging Blow. Now, the numbers change depending on the item level of the conduit that you have here. So from there, we're going to go into Forge Light Filter, then into a Finesse Conduit. Intervene reduces damage taken by the single target by 14%. Safeguard. From there, into Regenerating Materials, then into Stalwart Guardian Endurance Conduit. The cooldown of Enrage regeneration is reduced by 30 seconds. So this is a defensive that's going to help you heal. From there, you're going to go into Brutal Vitality, Endurance Conduit. 9.6% of damage you deal adds to your active Ignore Pain. So, Ignore Pain is sort of a defensive that can be used from just Fury. You can keep using it. And this just takes the damage you deal and adds it on top of that, meaning you take less damage. From there, we're going to go into Hammer of Genesis, then into Merciless Bone Grinder, a potency conduit. When Bladestorm ends, Whirlwind does 150% increased damage for 9 seconds. So this means when Bladestorm, a major cooldown of your character, is used, your Whirlwind, which is used massively on AoE packs, is going to have huge increases in damage. From there, we're going to go into Soul Glow Spectrometer, then into Indelible Victory Endurance Conduit. Victory Rush shields you for 360% of the damage dealt over 8 seconds. Now, this is great. You kill something, you use it, you heal over time. It's great for defensiveness. You can also go Condensed Animosphere, which just reduces damage and increases your healing and stuff. But I'm going to go with this one. And then straight into Infused Anima Accelerator. This is what you're going to be running for Mythic Dungeons always. Obviously, you can play around a little bit, but these are your best conduits. So raiding is very, very similar. There isn't much to change in the conduit section. I also forgot to shrink myself down, so let me just shrink myself down a little bit here. So what you're going to be doing is you could take this route instead of this route, increases fall damage and the damage you take, but these are really just utility, so it doesn't really matter what sort of you aim for here. This is just personal preference. But one thing is you probably will be changing is you're going to get to be taking Safeguard out and replacing it for Inspiring Presence. Inspiring Valiant Cry's duration and health granted are increased by 30%. Now, this is a raid-wide talent. You are going to be using Rallying Cry to increase survivability, to block big incoming damage, all sorts of things like that. And Rallying Cry can really help in raiding environments. It can help in dungeon environments as well, but it's really helpful in raiding, especially if you've got a few warriors doing it as well. So I would go with this conduit for raiding, and everything else really stays the same. So this is your raiding section right here. Bronze Call to Action, Hack and Slash, Forge Light Filter, Inspiring Presence, either Regenerate Materials or Resilient Plumage, Stalwart Guardian, Brutal Vitality, Hammer of Genesis, Merciless Bone Grinder, Soul Ghost Spectrometer, Indelible Victory, and Infusive Anima Accelerator. These are your rating ones. Very similar, not much to change. Easy to jump straight in by just changing a couple of things in there. So next up, probably the most important part of any guide, and that is the talents you're going to be running from Mythic Dungeons. I mean, I'm so excited for the talent teach to come back in Dragonflight. I'm so excited to see the changes and the builds that people are going to be rocking. But until then, let's deal with what we've got. So you're going to be starting with Sudden Death. Your attacks have a chance to reset the cooldown of Execute and make it usable on any target regardless of their health. So Execute is a huge ability. It does so much damage, especially in your Execute range where you can just spam it when it's up. But this one allows you to use it whenever, if the proc allows it. So going with this is just extra chunks of damage continuously through a fight. Then we're going to go into Double Time. This is utility, so this is really dependent on what you want to take. Most people are taking Double Time, so that is meta right now. But other stuff can be taken depending on how you feel. But Double Time increases the maximum number of charges on charge by 1 and reduces the cooldown by 3 seconds. It's huge. It's great utility for a warrior. Next, we're going to go into Frenzy. Rampage increases your haste by 2% for 12 seconds. Stacking up 4 times. This effect is reset if you rampage on a different target. So if you're focusing down the same target, which you most likely are as a warrior, then your haste is just going to stack, stack, stack. Attack speed, stack, stack, stack. CDs, it's all going to be better. So take this for just pure outright speed. And that's what I love about Fury Warrior. It's how fast they can just whack out abilities and attack targets. Next up, we're going to go with War Paint. You take 10% reduced damage while enraged is active. So enraged, you're almost always enraged during a fight. So while taking this, you're just going to be taking less damage, increasing your defensibility and your survivability. Next up, we're going to go Cruelty. While enraged, Raging Blow deals 20% more damage and has a 30% chance to instantly reset its own cooldown. Now, this is great. So, while enraged, which you always are, we just said that, Raging Blow deals 20% more damage, major ability that you're constantly using in the fight, and has a chance to instantly reset its own cooldown. So, basically, you're just spamming Raging Blows because you're always enraged. It's great and just so much extra damage. Then we're going to go into Bladestorm. So, Bladestorm become an unstoppable storm of destructive force, striking all enemies for a certain amount of damage over 3.4 seconds, deals with your damage beyond 8 targets. You're immune to impairing effects, loss of control, everything like that. And you can still use your defensive abilities during it. So Bladestorm, major CD. Most people know what Bladestorm looks like, but it's basically just spinning the target. You can move around. You can do your defensives as well. And it's just pure damage. And because of the Conduit, Whirlwind is then going to be increased by damage after using that. So, great ability, especially for Mythic Dungeons. Then when you go into Anger Management, every 20 rage you spend reduces the remaining cooldown on Reckless. So Reckless is your main CD. Your main CD. So you use it, and you go berserk, increasing all rage regeneration by 100%, increasing your abilities, 20% increased critical strike chance for 12 seconds. So it's a huge CD that just makes you flipping strong. Now, the one great thing about Fury Warrior and getting into it, it is an easy class. It's genuinely one of the easier classes in the game. And for raiding, your talents do not change. They might change here and there on a few bosses, but they do not change in raiding. You keep the same things, meaning you don't have to change anything. You don't have to change Covenant, Conduits, really, your talents. It is such a prime class to play if you just really want to focus on PvE content, because you can just go straight into whatever you like without changing anything. So, Mythic Dungeons, raiding. Simple as that. So in this part of the guide, we're going to be talking about stat priority, enchants, consumables, everything you need to prep for these Mythic Dungeons or raiding or this PvE environment that you are aiming to do. So we're going to start off with stat priority. So Warrior is a little bit different when it comes to its stat weights and stat priority. Yes, it has its main ones: strength, haste, mastery, crit, verse, in that order. That's its normal stat prior. But weapons play a massive importance to Fury Warrior's damage. Your offhand, your main hand, they mean the world when it comes to your DPS. So really, you want to be focused on getting a really strong offhand, a really strong main hand, and then worry about your stats. It comes from that. So basically, main hand, offhand, strength, haste, mastery, crit, verse, in that order. It's not going to change. It might change as we go into the next expansion, but for right now, it's such a haste-heavy class that you're just going to focus on haste, focus on getting their weapons, and you will just blast. Next up, let's talk consumables, enchants, and everything else. So, enchants for Fury Warrior. What are you going to go? Your cloak is up to you. Play how the situation dictates it. Play how you want to play it. You've got Fortified Avoidance, Fortified Leech, Fortified Speed, and Soul Vitality. You choose one. I'm going to have everything up on screen so you guys can see it with ease and go grab off the auction house if you need to. So your chest is going to be Eternal Skirmish. You're going to have Shaded Hearthing on your wrists, Eternal Strength on your gloves, Soul Treads on your boots, Tenet of Haste on your rings, Celestial Guidance on your main hand. For single target, you're going to be using Sinful Revelation on your offhand. For AoE, you're going to be using Lightless Force. Then you're going to be using for consumables, Spectral Flask of Power for every DPS class. For your pre-pot or potion, Spectral Strength Potion, Shaded Sharpening Stones for your weapons, or Shaded Weight Stones depending on what you're using, Cosmic Healing Potions for a bit of extra survivability, Veiled Organ Runes, Heavy Desolate Armor Kits for survivability, Feast of Glutinous Hedonism, but if you've not got one of them and your group isn't so kind, 10 Abrus Crown Roast Aspect. And for your gems, the final slot is going to be Quick Jewel Cluster to increase that haste. There are your gems, enchants, and consumables right there. Now, before we jump onto the rotation side of things, I will learn to talk, I promise. But let's talk about what you can buy with your dinar when you're getting it. You know, your raid currency you get from killing bosses now. Now, your main one you're going to want to aim for is the Gavel of the First Arbiter. Then Jathi's the Prison Blade, Old Warrior's Soul, First Sigil, and Scars of Eternal Strife. There's 5. You can only choose 3. I would go with the first ones, the 2 weapons and the trinket. They're going to do wonders for your DPS. They're going to be amazing for every type of content. So go with them. Use your dinar for that. I will show you the pictures on screen of each one. So next up is the rotation for Fury Warrior. I'm going to tell you that Fury Warrior is one of the most simpler classes. It's kind of just smack the abilities when they're up sort of class. So you're going to be using Recklessness on cooldown or whether a burst needed. Cast Rampage if Enrage is not active or at 90 plus Rage. Cast Spear of Bactrim during the Enrage buff. Execute if available. Bladestorm during the Enrage buff. Bloodthirst if Enrage is not active. Raging Blow when 2 charges are off cooldown. Bloodthirst on cooldown. Raging Blow for Rage. Whirlwind is a filler. And it doesn't really change in between because AoE and single target, because Whirlwind is just going to be used a little bit more. There's an execute range when you get low that should be used over and over when execute is up. Charge off global cooldown. Opening the combat with Reckless, so follow immediate by charge will net an increased rage, but you don't have to do it like that. That's just if you're going to min-max it just in and out to generate some rage and, you know, a bit of extra DPS. But that sort of is your main single target rotation. I'm going to go in and show you now what that looks like in game. So let's hit this training dummy and see what we can do. So we are going to charge in, hit it with a Bloodthirst, hit it with a Raging Blow again, Bloodthirst, fill up with the Wind, get the Rage up, Spirit Bastion, now we're in Rage, Bladestorm straight into that. We've procced a Rage, so we hit that. Recklessness is going to proc our Legendary as well. Again with a Rampage, Execute because it's procced, Raging Blow, Rampage because it's procced again, Raging Blow is procced, hit that, Bloodthirst, Rampage, Raging Blow, Bloodthirst. See, you're just kind of using stuff on CD. When stuff is up, and if nothing's up, you're using Whirlwind or you're using Bloodthirst. Whirlwind again is filler. Bloodthirst is up, use that. Rampage because it's up. Whirlwind is filler. Bloodthirst. It's so simple. The class is really easy. You're just using stuff as it comes up. And if nothing's up, you're using Whirlwind. Make sure you're using your CDs during your Enrage. It's simple as that. You Enrage every time you cast Rampage or you hit a certain rage on your bar. Okay, so an important thing to note here for Fury Warrior AoE, which is we're doing the AoE rotation now, is prioritize Whirlwind whenever the buff is not active. So when you use Whirlwind, it gives you a buff. And you're using it when you don't have the buff, roughly every 3rd global cooldown, in order to ensure that your single targets are still cleaving around. So use Whirlwind to keep the buff up, or whenever the buff is not active, so you're still able to cleave off your single target attacks. Now, the rest of it stays exactly the same. Exactly the same. The rotation for Fury Warrior doesn't really change. It doesn't differ off anything. So I'm going to jump straight in and I'm going to show you the AoE rotation for Fury Warrior. So we are going to dive straight into this pack right here. We're going to charge in. We're going to hit a Whirlwind. Use my Trinket. Bloodthirst because now we're cleaving. As you see up in the top corner, the buff was active. See that buff right there? Your next single target attack strikes with the 4 targets. So you got to keep this buff up. Use this to hit all targets. Spirit Bastion. Then we're going to hit with the Bladestorm. Make sure we're studying it to get the bonuses. Rampage because it's proc. Make sure the buff is up from Whirlwind. Execute, hitting all targets. Bloodthirst, Whirlwind buff up. Whirlwind is filler because nothing's up. Rampage because it's proc. Recklessness, and it's proc our Legendary. Then into Bloodthirst. Then get the buff back up from Whirlwind. Rampage is all targets. Whirlwind, Whirlwind, Whirlwind because the fillers. Rampage again. Whirlwind to bring the buff back up. Execute. So, okay, so the basic premise is use your CDs, line them up with the Enrage. Whirlwind it to get the buff up so your other abilities strike other targets, and then just use stuff on cooldown. It's simple as that. Fury Warrior, in my opinion, isn't a complex class, but it's one of the most fun class because you can just go in and smash. You just smash everything, and it's super fun. The rate in which you just go nuts on people is crazy. I love Fury Warrior. Making this video has made me want to play it even more. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I hope it's helped at least one person jump into the content they desire to play. Now, thank you to everyone that's made it this far through the video. I hope it has helped. I hope you can get something from this video and make your journey on WoW a little bit easier and a little bit more enjoyable. I'm Biggie Sweats. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below. Check us out over on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'll be there 3 PM to 10 PM BST. Peace!